Welcome. You are. Let your shoulders sleepy historian. Before we begin tonight, I'm always quietly curious who is here with me. If you'd like, tell me in the comments where you're listening from, and whether it's late evening or already past midnight where you are. I read them. Slowly. Now. Tonight, we will move gently. There is no urgency here. No sharp turns. No raised voices. Only the quiet unfolding of something that shaped millions of lives long before ours. Something so constant that most people living inside it barely noticed it at all. Take a slow breath in, and let it settle. Medieval life was not chaotic. That is the first quiet truth. It was not a constant storm of confusion, or lawlessness, or random hardship. It was not people wandering without structure. It was not endless unpredictability. It was, in many ways, the opposite. It was structured, deeply structured, almost immovably structured. And if you had been born into it, you would not have spent most of your time wondering who you were meant to become, because that decision would likely have been made before you could walk. You would have grown into a role that had already been shaped by generations before you. A space cleared by your parents. A place already outlined by expectation. You would not have searched for identity. You would have inherited it. Tonight you will slowly come to understand how social expectations shaped medieval life, not in loud or dramatic ways, but in the quiet, daily rhythms of work, prayer, marriage, clothing, posture, speech, even silence. You will see how birth fixed direction, community enforced behavior, religion structured emotion, labor defined worth, marriage secured alliances. You are born into a room that already knows you. The walls are timbered. Smoke stains the beams above. A small fire burns low in the hearth, even if it is not winter, because warmth is never wasted. Someone has boiled water. Someone has whispered a prayer. Someone has already counted what your arrival will mean. Before you open your eyes, your place has begun to settle around you. You are not born into possibility. You are born into continuity. If your parents till the Lord's fields, then your hands will one day harden around the same wooden plow. If your mother spins wool beside a narrow window, your fingers will learn that same slow turning motion. If your father shoes horses in a village smithy, the rhythm of hammer on iron will become the background of your childhood. You will not be asked what you wish to become. You will be shown. It begins quietly. As a child you are carried to the edge of the fields. You are bundled in rough wool that smells faintly of smoke and lanolin. You watch adults bend and rise, bend and rise. The motion repeats. The earth yields slowly. You do not yet understand that this bending is instruction. But it is. When you can walk, you follow. Small boots press into damp soil. You stumble. Someone steadies you. Someone laughs softly, not unkindly, but with the knowing tone of people who have seen this pattern many times before. You are growing into something already shaped, and there is comfort in that shape. There are only so many trades in a small medieval village. Farming, milling, smithing, weaving, tending animals, serving in the manor household. If you are born into the household of a minor noble, your education will include letters, perhaps Latin prayers, the posture of command. But even nobility is inherited structure. A noble child does not choose humility. A peasant child does not choose authority. The lines are visible. They are visible in clothing, in the thickness of fabric, in the cut of sleeves, in who may wear fur and who must wear coarse wool. They are visible in who steps aside when passing on a narrow path. As you grow, your body learns these adjustments before your mind fully names them. You lower your gaze at the right moment. You remove your cap when required. You stand at the edge of certain gatherings, not at the center. No one gives a long lecture explaining this. It is repetition that teaches you, morning after morning, season after season. If your family farms, you wake before full light. The air is cold even in spring. You can see your breath. Your stomach feels the quiet ache of hunger that never fully disappears. Not sharp, just present. You eat coarse bread, perhaps porridge. You chew slowly because there's no abundance to rush through. And then you walk. Always the same path. Always the same field boundaries. Your feet begin to know where stones lie hidden beneath soil. You step around them instinctively. In this repetition, your identity settles. You are not discovering yourself. You are becoming reliable, and reliability is survival. In a world without modern safety nets, your family depends on predictability. If you refuse the field, the harvest shrinks. If the harvest shrinks, winter tightens. No one needs to threaten you with punishment. The cold itself is instruction. So you learn. You learn the weight of tools before you are strong enough to lift them properly. You learn to carry water without spilling. You learn to bind sheaves. You learn to watch the sky for signs of rain. There is little room for experimentation. Experimentation risks failure. Failure risks hunger. And hunger is patient. Sometimes as a child, you feel a flicker of curiosity. You watch the traveling peddler pass through the village. His cart holds objects from elsewhere, metal trinkets, dyed ribbons, small carved figures, elsewhere. It is a fragile idea, but even then you understand something without being told. Elsewhere does not belong to you. Travel is expensive. Guilds and towns guard their trades carefully. Land is inherited. You are part of a chain. Your grandparents stood in this same field. Your great-grandparents, too. Their names may still be remembered in quiet stories told near the hearth. To break from that chain would not feel heroic. It would feel destabilizing. Your parents do not ask what you dream of. They ask whether you have finished your task. There is no cruelty in this, only expectation. Expectation is not shouted. It is absorbed. By adolescence, your muscles begin to thicken from work. Your back feels older than your years. Your hands carry small cuts that never fully fade. You begin to sense that childhood is not a protected state here. It is preparation. You watch older siblings marry young. You watch fields divided carefully. You watch tools passed down. And slowly, without a single dramatic moment, you understand this is your direction. If you are the eldest son, you may inherit responsibility for the family's portion of land. If you are not, you may remain as labor or seek apprenticeship under a master craftsman. But even that will be arranged through networks your family already knows. Choice exists, but it is narrow. Like a path worn into grass by many feet, to step off it is possible. But the grass is high, and you cannot see far ahead. In winter, when work slows and nights stretch long, you sit near the hearth and listen to adults speak. Their conversations circle familiar concerns: yield, weather, marriage prospects, obligations to the Lord, upcoming feast days. No one speaks of reinvention. No one speaks of becoming something entirely new. The world is wide, yes, but your life is local, and within that locality, stability matters more than novelty. You might feel in a quiet private space a question forming: is this all? But the question rarely grows large, because every morning the field waits, and the bell rings, and the tasks return, and in returning they define you. By the time you are old enough to notice the weight of expectation, it has already shaped your posture. You stand as someone who belongs here, because you do, not by preference, by inheritance. And in the medieval world, inheritance is stronger than ambition. It holds you in place. It feeds you. It limits you. It tells you who you are. Long before you could walk, you are never only yourself. That is something you begin to understand slowly. In the medieval world, your name does not belong solely to you. It carries echoes. It carries memory. It carries the steady accumulation of actions taken long before you were born. When someone speaks your name in the village, they are not only thinking of your face, they are thinking of your father's reliability, your mother's diligence, your grandfather's temper, your aunt's generosity. Reputation in a small medieval community is not abstract. It is not recorded in distant ledgers or written reviews. It is stored in conversation, in glances, in the subtle shift of tone when one household speaks of another. You grow up inside that atmosphere. As a child, you may not fully grasp it, but you feel it. When your mother reminds you to greet elders properly, she is not merely teaching politeness. She is guarding something fragile and shared. When your father corrects you for speaking too loudly in the presence of the reeve or steward, he is protecting more than order. He is protecting standing. Standing determines access. Access determines survival. If your family is known for honesty, tools may be lent more easily. If your family is known for keeping promises, neighbors may assist during harvest. If your family is regarded with suspicion, doors may close quietly. There are no dramatic confrontations. There is only a slow tightening. You begin to notice how carefully adults choose their words. Even casual conversation is measured. No one wishes to invite rumor. Rumor moves faster than carts. It spreads without visible effort. In the evening, when work is done and you sit near the hearth, you hear stories told not as entertainment but as quiet reminders. Remember what happened to Thomas's family, someone might say. Not angrily, not loudly, just enough. Thomas's father failed to meet an obligation, or perhaps he drank too heavily, or perhaps his daughter was seen speaking alone too often with a young man before formal arrangements were made. The details blur over time. What remains is consequence, a cooling of invitations, a hesitation in arranging marriages, a reluctance to trade on trust alone. And you learn that your behavior extends outward beyond your own comfort. A careless act does not end with you. It travels backward to your parents and forward to your siblings. If you have a sister nearing marriageable age, your conduct matters. If you have a brother hoping to apprentice with a respected craftsman, your reputation matters. You carry not just your own future, you carry theirs. This knowledge settles into you gradually, like damp seeping into stone. It does not feel dramatic, it feels constant. In church you notice where families sit. The more established households often occupy the same benches year after year. Position is not random. When you kneel, you are aware of proximity. Who kneels beside you? Who kneels ahead? These patterns have history, and history watches. If your family has served faithfully, the priest may greet you with warmth. If your family's piety is questioned, the greeting may be polite but cool. No one announces disapproval. It is sensed. You begin to understand that privacy, as you know it now, did not truly exist in this world. Houses are small, walls are thin, fields are shared spaces, wells are communal. Your actions are visible, even your silences are noticed. If you withdraw too often, questions form. If you speak too boldly, whispers follow. Moderation becomes instinct. You regulate yourself not because you fear punishment in a dramatic sense, but because you fear imbalance. Imbalance threatens stability. And stability is everything. Imagine walking through the village square. You feel eyes briefly upon you. Not hostile, not warm, just aware. You adjust your posture slightly. You walk neither too quickly nor too slowly. You greet others with the appropriate level of respect. You do this without conscious strain. It has been practiced for years. Reputation is also economic. In a world where contracts are often verbal and literacy limited, trust acts as currency. If your household is considered trustworthy, grain may be loaned during lean months. If doubt surrounds your name, even small requests may be declined. Declined gently, but declined. Winter makes this reality sharper. As stores diminish and hunger edges closer, reliance on community intensifies. A family with strong reputation can endure thin harvests with assistance. A family without it faces isolation. And isolation in winter is dangerous. Not in a sudden way, in a slow way. Fewer shared meals, less shared labor. Subtle exclusion from collective tasks. You watch adults manage these risks carefully. They attend communal events even when tired. They offer help when able. They contribute to church maintenance. They avoid disputes whenever possible. Conflict is costly. You absorb this caution. As adolescence approaches, expectations sharpen. You are reminded that your future marriage prospects will depend partly on how your family is regarded. Suitors' families will ask questions quietly. They will observe. You may not be told every evaluation taking place, but you sense it. A longer look, a measured question, an assessing pause. You learn to move within boundaries that preserve respectability. This does not mean joy disappears. There are festivals, there is laughter, there are moments of lightness. But even celebration is watched. Drinking too freely can stain a name. Dancing too boldly may be remembered longer than intended. Memory in a small community is long, very long, and you live inside it. Over time, something interesting happens. The vigilance becomes natural. You no longer feel constrained at every moment. Instead, you feel aligned. You know how to behave because you have seen it modeled countless times. The rules are not written, yet they are precise. You belong to a lineage that is both shield and boundary. Reputation shields you from uncertainty. It assures others that you are predictable, and predictability brings safety. But it also binds you, because stepping outside of what your name represents risks more than embarrassment. It risks fracture. So you learn to carry yourself as someone aware of being seen. Not constantly anxious, just aware. Your life unfolds in public space, and your family's past stands quietly behind you, like a line of figures in the dim firelight, watching, not to judge harshly, but to remind you that you are never only yourself. You are the continuation of something older, and in the medieval world that continuity matters more than individuality. Before you speak, before you introduce yourself, before anyone asks your name, you are already understood. In the medieval world, clothing is not simply protection against cold. It is language. It is declaration. It is boundary. When you step outside in the morning, wrapped in wool that your household has spun and woven, you are wearing your position. The fabric itself tells a story. If you are born into a peasant household, your garments are coarse but durable. Undyed wool in shades of brown or gray, linen beneath if your family can afford it. The texture scratches faintly against your skin, especially when damp. You do not resent this. It is normal. If you are of higher standing, the weave tightens, the dyes deepen. Perhaps there is trim at the edge of a sleeve, perhaps a belt crafted with more care. You do not choose these distinctions. They are prescribed. In many regions of medieval Europe, sumptuary laws exist, quiet legal reminders that fabric, color, and adornment must align with social rank. You cannot simply wear what you admire. You must wear what you are permitted. These rules are not always enforced with spectacle. Often, enforcement comes through glances, a raised eyebrow, a comment murmured after you pass. To dress beyond your station is to disturb order, and order is fragile. In the early morning, when frost clings to the ground, you dress slowly. First the linen shift or shirt, then the wool tunic, then a cloak if needed. Each layer carries familiarity. You have worn garments like these every day of your life. You do not stand before a mirror contemplating expression. You dress to align. You tie your belt at the same place your father does. You fasten your cloak as your mother showed you. The gestures are small and repetitive. Repetition becomes reassurance. Even posture communicates rank. When you approach someone of higher status, you incline your head slightly, not deeply, unless required, just enough. You step aside on narrow roads. You allow others to enter doorways first. Your body moves in patterns you learned long ago. You may not remember when you first understood these movements. They simply became part of you. In church, these distinctions sharpen. Families sit where they have always sat, nobility near the front, peasants farther back. No one needs instruction. The arrangement has settled over generations. You know where to stand when communion is offered. You know how long to kneel. You know how to fold your hands. These are not empty rituals. They reinforce structure. There is comfort in knowing, precisely what is expected of your body. Your gestures are rarely spontaneous. They are shaped, and being shaped reduces uncertainty. Consider how unsettling it would feel if no one knew where to stand. If clothing did not signal position, if posture did not clarify hierarchy, confusion would ripple. The medieval world prefers clarity. Even children are corrected gently but firmly. If you speak too boldly in the presence of someone above your station, a parent's hand rests on your shoulder. A subtle pressure, a reminder. You adjust. Over time you feel the boundary without being touched. There is a certain relief in this visibility. You do not need to invent yourself daily. You do not need to broadcast personality. Your rank announces you before you speak. For many this reduces anxiety. There is less ambiguity. Of course, this clarity also limits you. You cannot pretend to be what you are not for long. Your clothing will betray you. Your accent will betray you. Your posture will betray you. Mobility exists, but it is rare and watched closely. So you settle into what is appropriate. When you attend a market in a nearby town, you immediately notice differences. Merchants dressed slightly finer, guild members wearing insignia, clergy in distinct robes. The visual language is complex but consistent. You read it instinctively. You lower your gaze at the correct moments. You step forward only when it is your turn. You wait. Waiting is part of knowing your place. Even leisure reflects hierarchy. During festivals there are dances appropriate for some and not for others. Seating arrangements at feasts reflect standing. Who is served first matters. None of this is loud. It is steady. You may occasionally feel the constraint, a moment when you imagine wearing brighter color, or speaking without measured restraint, or walking directly through a space rather than around it. But that feeling passes, because the cost of misalignment is social friction, and friction is uncomfortable. In winter especially, when you gather indoors and space is tight, harmony matters. Too many bodies near one fire require predictability. Everyone must know how to sit without crowding, how to speak without dominating. Hierarchy helps manage closeness. You begin to realize that these visible markers, clothing, gesture, posture, are not merely tools of control. They are tools of stability. They tell you where you belong. And belonging, in a small medieval community, is essential. If you were stripped of these signals, placed suddenly in a world where no one could tell your standing, you might feel unmoored, uncertain. Here, you are rarely uncertain. You are defined. Your tunic, your cloak, your bowed head, your measured step, they are all part of a shared understanding. And that understanding shapes every interaction. You wake each morning and step into garments that reaffirm your place. You move through spaces that confirm it. You kneel, stand, and sit in patterns that reinforce it. You are not improvising. You are continuing. And in the medieval world, continuation is safety. Even if it narrows the path, the day begins slowly. Long before the sun has climbed above the hills. You rise while the air is still sharp and cold, your breath forming small clouds in the dim light of the cottage. Even the floorboards are chilled. Your body remembers the cold from yesterday. It will remember it again tomorrow. This is the rhythm of life. It is steady. It is quiet. It shapes you before you fully wake. Work is not merely something to survive. It is the vessel through which you become who you are. From the first dawn you remember, you carry your tasks like familiar instruments. Each tool has a place. Each motion has a history. Each day mirrors the one before. Though the wind may shift, the frost may thicken, the soil may resist. You step into the field, and your hands know the plow before your mind fully commands them. You feel the earth beneath your boots, uneven and stubborn. The scent of damp soil rises to meet you. Frost clings to the edges of leaves, and the early sunlight catches on thin webs stretched across fence posts. Your back aches slightly from the steady bending and rising. There is no pain in surprise. It is merely endurance. It is a reminder that the body remembers, even when the mind is not yet fully awake. For those apprenticed in trades, the pattern is different but no less constraining. A young smith watches as the master lifts hammer and tongs, strikes the iron, listens to the quiet rhythm of work. Each strike, each motion, each measured pause carries meaning. Your body will absorb these patterns before you understand them fully. You are learning rhythm, patience, reliability. These are marks of your future identity. Guilds watch closely. Your work is not yours alone. Each stroke, each stitch, each measured action will be observed. A deviation, no matter how minor, is noticed, and in noticing, it becomes part of your reputation. As you practice, your body learns repetition, and repetition becomes trust. Trust becomes standing. Standing becomes survival. Even in fields or workshops, the weather has authority. Frost can crack wooden handles. Rain can soften soil to mud. Wind can chill bones to the marrow. You feel it all. Each gust, each drop, each frostbitten morning teaches you limits, endurance, patience. No single moment is dramatic, but each moment contributes to the slow shaping of resilience. Time drifts slowly here. You measure it by the sun's rise and fall, by the tolling of bells, by the deepening shadows of hills. You count hours not in minutes but by the bending of your back and the ache in your shoulders. These measures are intimate, internal, personal. You are aware of each hour because your body carries it. Meals are taken with care. Bread is chewed slowly. Cheese is rationed. Water is carried from the well in measured steps. The repetition of these actions teaches rhythm, patience, and acceptance. You begin to understand that work, survival, and identity are intertwined. There is no division between them. Evening approaches, though you scarcely notice the hours pass in their quiet accumulation. Your muscles are stiff. Your fingers bear small nicks and calluses. Your hands, hardened through repetition, feel almost independent, each movement precise from years of guided imitation. You sit near the fire, perhaps with others, sharing warmth and small words. Your body carries the memory of work. Your mind carries the awareness that tomorrow will repeat it all, and that repetition is, in fact, continuity. And you recognize, though you may not name it, that identity itself is forged here, not in the abstract, not in leisure or contemplation, but in the slow, measured, enduring work that both sustains and defines you. You are the child of your labor. You are known by your labor, and the labor itself is known by the community. As the sun climbs, you begin to hear it, not immediately, but inevitably. The sound of the bell, far off, gentle yet persistent, calling you to attention. It marks time, not in the mechanical precision of modern clocks, but in the slow, predictable rhythm that structures every day. The bell calls for work, for prayer, for gathering, for pause. Its tolls are not urgent, they are reminders. Each chime reaches you through the cold air, carrying a quiet authority. You do not rush. You listen. You adjust. You arise or kneel as required. In the medieval world, time is not personal. It is communal. The hours belong to everyone and no one. They are measured by the ringing of bells, the movement of shadows across stone, the subtle shift of light through latticed windows. You become intimately aware of them because they shape your activity. You eat, labor, pray, rest, all according to the rhythm set by your community. The church itself is more than a house of worship. It is a temporal anchor. Its walls are stone, cold and enduring, echoing with voices that have been there for generations. Standing upon the floor, your knees pressed into the cold stone, you feel the slow passage of time in your own body, in your stiff joints, in the quiet ache of muscles long used. You are marked by the rhythm of the building itself. Attendance is expected, not optional. The moral schedule dictates that the community gathers, not only to pray, but to witness each other's devotion. Lateness is noted. Absence is noted. Even when there is no formal punishment, the weight of observation shapes behavior. Your presence is both offering and confirmation. Feast days and fasts further regulate existence. Days of abstention are followed by celebrations. The community observes collectively. Your body adjusts. The hunger of fasting, the fullness of feasting, the careful moderation of behavior. You learn restraint as naturally as you learn your trade. The rhythm is gentle, slow, and cumulative. Confession and participation create subtle accountability, not the sharp terror of dramatic judgment, but a quiet, persistent awareness of moral expectation. You carry not only your own conduct, but a sense of continuity for your family and your peers. To miss the rhythm is not just personal, it disrupts a shared structure. Walking through the village, you notice others in preparation. Candles are lit, shoes are brushed, children are guided to proper postures. Each motion reflects centuries of repetition. There is no need for force. You are conditioned by continuity, by subtle observation, by the certainty of what is expected. Even at rest, you are aware of the schedule. The tolling continues through morning, through the workday, into evening. It measures not only action but stillness. Silence itself is guided. To be idle at the wrong hour is a deviation. To kneel at the proper hour is comfort. You discover that morality and rhythm are inseparable. The slow passage of hours can feel like both weight and balm. You recognize in the repetition a stability modern life rarely offers. You know when to rise. You know when to labor. You know when to pray. You know when to pray. The bell reminds you of the world beyond your own body, beyond your own desires. It keeps you aligned. Through frost-laden mornings and rain-drenched afternoons, you follow this rhythm. The labor of the day, the meditation of prayer, the warmth of communal gatherings, all flow together. The moral schedule is not coercion, it is guidance. Its power lies in predictability. Its influence is almost invisible, and yet it shapes every action, every thought, every posture. In the cathedral, in the village church, in the small chapel atop the hill, you feel time differently. You do not measure minutes. You measure presence. You measure alignment. You measure the quiet endurance of being in the right place at the right hour, every day, as countless before you have done. And as you kneel at the stone, your hands folded, your back straight, your eyes lowered, you understand that the moral schedule is also a sanctuary. It shields you from uncertainty. It prevents choice from becoming burden. It tells you exactly when to act and when to pause. Winter mornings emphasize this further. Your hands grow numb. Your breath is visible. The cold seeps through layers of wool. The bell still rings. You respond. The rhythm continues. You begin to notice the subtle variations, a longer toll, a softer strike, a delayed echo. You are attuned. Your body and mind align with the cadence of your community. You feel fatigue settle gradually, not overwhelming but persistent, kneeling, standing, walking, laboring, praying. It accumulates. Your muscles remember each motion. Your mind notes the passing hours through subtle sensation, not clock. You are aware of endurance, of repetition, of the slow passing of time that both limits and sustains you. The moral schedule teaches another lesson. It reminds you that conformity is not merely obedience. It is survival. It is identity. To follow the rhythm is to belong. To deviate is to unsettle not only yourself, but the delicate continuity of the community. The lesson is quiet but persistent. By evening, when the bells toll again, the day comes full circle. Work ends. Prayer is complete. You retreat to the hearth. The cadence of the day has left its mark on your body, on your posture, on your awareness. Even the firelight flickering against the cold stone walls reflects the rhythm of the hours. Rise, labor, prayer, pause, repeat. This is the medieval clock, not a mechanism of gears, but a living, breathing rhythm that orders life. You carry it in your bones, in your hands, in the alignment of your body. And it is as much protection as it is constraint. It ensures that life moves predictably, that survival is quiet but certain, that the social order is preserved without overt force. You will carry this understanding into all tasks that follow. Even when work ends for the day, even when sleep arrives, the moral schedule lingers. It whispers in small movements, in measured steps, in habitual gestures. You have learned to move within its bounds, and in doing so you have learned the subtle, enduring power of expectation. As evening settles and the last labor of the day draws to a close, you begin to notice the quiet rules that govern even rest. Rest in the medieval world is not purely personal. It is not a time to drift freely according to whim or fatigue. Even sleep is guided, patterned, expected. The rhythm of the day, shaped by work, prayer, and communal attention, carries you gently toward the night. You lie upon a straw mattress or a wooden bed, layered with woolen blankets if your family can afford them. The air is cold. Your breath rises in small clouds, visible in the dim firelight or in the weak glow from a shuttered window. You wrap yourself carefully. Every movement has been practiced countless times, arranging coverings, positioning your head, settling your limbs. Comfort is deliberate. You know the weight of blankets must be enough to shield you, but not so much as to constrain your breathing. Even in bed, the world is present. You hear the faint murmur of the household. Someone stoking the fire, a child shifting, the dog settling into a corner. You hear the wind outside, the slow creak of timbers adjusting to cold. All of these sounds are familiar. They mark the passage of time even as you prepare to surrender to sleep. Sleep is timed. Your body has learned the natural rhythm imposed by daily labor and the moral schedule. You are tired because you have worked. You are ready to sleep because the bell has tolled and the chores are complete. The body responds as much to expectation as to exhaustion. There is no sudden collapse into unconsciousness. There is a slow descent, a gentle fading, guided by routine. Your mind is attentive, though muted. Thoughts drift in patterns that echo the day. You replay the motions you performed, steps taken across frozen fields, strokes of a hammer on iron, weaving thread across a loom, kneeling and standing in the church. Each motion becomes a gentle repetition in memory. Even dreams may carry these patterns, small fragments of learned activity, as if the mind continues to practice endurance. There are social rules to rest as well. In a crowded household, sleeping positions may be dictated. Elders or parents take priority in warm corners. Siblings are arranged carefully. Even animals are placed to minimize disturbance. You have learned to settle without complaint, to move with subtlety, to breathe quietly. Harmony ensures warmth. Harmony ensures survival. You are aware that sleep is also a time of observation. Households have always been connected. Walls are thin. Sounds travel. A cough, a shift of bedding, a whispered word. These are noted. You move and breathe in ways that minimize disruption. The smallest gestures are important. Even in the dark, your body continues to navigate expectation. Nights are long, especially in winter. Darkness deepens and cold persists. The fire dwindles. The body becomes acutely aware of its own endurance. Limbs stiffen. Muscles ache. The rhythm of day's work lingers in every bone. You shift slightly, adjusting for warmth, for comfort, for continuity. These small adjustments are repeated across nights. The memory of each previous night guides you. The timing of waking is equally structured. Your body anticipates the pre-dawn light. Even before a bell tolls, muscles begin to respond. Limbs stretch, eyes open. The rhythm of work, the moral schedule, and the communal expectation create an almost automatic alignment. Your sleep is synchronized not just to natural cycles but to social ones. Illness or fatigue may alter these patterns slightly, but the household adapts. Care is provided in quiet ways, additional blankets, a shared meal of broth, or a gentle check. Survival depends on continuity. Even in rest, deviation is minimal. Sleep is not indulgence, it is preparation for endurance. It is part of identity. Rest also teaches endurance. Long nights in cold, drafty spaces accustom the body to subtle discomfort. The ache in your joints, the stiffness in your back, the chill in your fingers, all are familiar. You do not fight them. You accept them. They are part of the slow shaping of resilience. You learn to adapt. You learn to regulate. You learn to continue. As you drift between waking and sleeping, you are aware of the cyclical nature of all things. Work, prayer, meals, and rest form a quiet loop. Each repetition reinforces your identity. Each cycle strengthens endurance. The boundaries between day and night, labor and sleep, self and community blur into a seamless continuum. You understand, without needing words, that even dreams may carry lessons. They are fragments of repetition, echoes of rhythm. In the medieval world, the line between conscious and unconscious life is subtle. Both are guided by expectation. Both are structured. Both carry the weight of survival and continuity. By the time dawn arrives, the household is ready to begin again. You wake gradually, body stiff but aware. You rise with the same motions, the same sequence, the same quiet alignment. Your identity, shaped by labor, by moral rhythm, and by regulated rest, is fully integrated. You are ready to meet the day, because your nights have prepared you. The medieval schedule is gentle but persistent. Its lessons are subtle but enduring. Work shapes identity. Prayer shapes awareness. Rest shapes endurance. Together they form a rhythm that defines life. There is no sudden drama. There is no sharp conflict. Only the slow accumulation of expectation, endurance, and repetition. And through this, you understand your place. Even in the quiet, in the dark, in the cold, the rules of daily life are never fully absent. They seep into bones, into memory, into breath. And when morning comes, you rise shaped by them, ready to continue, to perform, to endure. You are no longer a child. You have learned the rhythms of work, the cadence of the moral schedule, the patterns of rest, and now another layer of expectation begins to shape your life. Alliances, connections, and obligations. Most subtly, the quiet influence of marriage. In the medieval world, marriage is rarely a matter of individual desire. It is not a pursuit of affection first, but of alignment, stability, and continuity. Families observe each other. They weigh reputation, economic standing, reliability, moral conduct, and even the habits you carry from childhood. The choice is not yours alone. It is distributed across generations, reflected in glances, whispered evaluations, and measured interactions. You notice it in subtle ways first. Perhaps a visiting family comes to the village. They speak politely with your parents. They look around, evaluating without a word. The children of both households may exchange glances, moments brief and uncertain, but never decisive. Adults watch gestures, posture, the way hands move, the care with which tools are handled or garments worn. Every small action becomes an indicator. Courtship is measured and deliberate. You may be aware of it, or you may only sense it indirectly, through hints and expectations placed upon you. Gifts are small, symbolic, and carefully chosen. A ribbon, a carved figure, a loaf of fine bread, all convey meaning without speech. Your behavior, though quiet, is noted. You learn restraint because a misstep could ripple outward, affecting not only yourself, but your family's standing. Marriage is alliance first. It is also a kind of labor. You are joining households, combining obligations, intertwining responsibilities. Even if affection develops, it follows the careful structuring of social bonds. The practical, the ceremonial, the subtle, and the moral intertwine. You observe older siblings or neighbors. Engagements are quiet affairs in small villages, a whispered agreement, a subtle exchange of tokens, a handshake or clasp of hands witnessed by those whose judgment carries weight. There is no grand display. There is no sudden declaration. The world is orderly. Expectations are precise. Dowries, portions, and contributions are carefully considered. They are never extravagant for the sake of pride alone, nor are they omitted without consequence. They ensure continuity. They preserve honor. They demonstrate responsibility. You absorb this pattern from early observation, learning how wealth and duty are intertwined. Even friendships carry weight. Who you associate with may hint at your suitability as a partner. Who you dine with, who you accompany to market or festival, all is noted. These connections are subtle, almost invisible, yet their impact is tangible. Your family, your peers, your community, all participate in shaping your future quietly, persistently. In large households, negotiations may involve more than immediate family. Extended relatives advise. Elders recall past alliances. The memory of prior marriages, debts, or favors influences discussions. Even decades-old behavior may quietly factor into considerations. You grow to understand that continuity is more valued than novelty, and history is never forgotten. There are lessons in behavior too. Politeness is essential. Deference is expected. Observing hierarchy in small gestures. Lowering your gaze, allowing elders to speak first, carrying objects carefully, signals reliability and self-discipline. Your body becomes a text, readable to those who know the language of subtlety. Each motion, each pause, each word carries weight. Festivals and public gatherings become opportunities to signal suitability. Dance, conversation, craft demonstrations, prayer attendance, all are observed with a quiet focus. Your skill, your endurance, your alignment with expected rhythm. These are measures not just of competence, but of social capital. You begin to understand that in medieval life, no action exists in isolation. All contribute to a slow accumulation of perception. Even the home is part of this. Cleanliness, organization, preparedness, small details signal reliability. Visitors note whether your family keeps consistent fires, maintains tools properly, and provides hospitality in measured ways. These observations are not judgmental in the dramatic sense. They are recorded quietly, stored in memory, and revisited in future decisions. As adolescence passes, the awareness of these bonds becomes more personal. You begin to see yourself not just as an individual but as part of an intricate network of expectations and duties. Your actions echo beyond your immediate perception. A misstep in behavior could delay marriage prospects. A pattern of diligence could accelerate alliances. You are never isolated. You are always observed. There is comfort in this subtle structuring. You do not have to navigate an unpredictable social world alone. Rules guide you. Patterns sustain you. And yet there is constraint. Freedom is measured. Innovation is limited. Affection may grow, but it often arises within parameters, not outside them. When marriage finally arrives, it is rarely sudden. There is no abrupt change in status. Instead, it is a gradual integration, a deepening of pre-existing bonds. You step carefully, learned in the rituals of observation, alignment, and adaptation. The household adjusts. Roles shift incrementally. Duties are layered upon those already familiar. Each day resembles the previous, yet carries new responsibility. Even intimacy follows the rhythm of expectation. Private life is guided by habit, by training, by awareness. You learn the subtle art of negotiation without words, how to step, how to offer, how to respond, how to endure. The lessons of labor, of morality, of rest, all converge. Your body, trained for repetition, endurance, and alignment, responds in ways conditioned by years of experience. Obligations extend beyond marriage. Families exchange favors. Trade is conducted carefully. Mutual reliance strengthens the social web. Your actions ripple outward into networks that are invisible yet inescapable. Each nod, each acknowledgement, each shared task confirms bonds. Each failure or misstep has consequences that extend slowly but surely. Through all of this, you come to understand a quiet truth. Survival is never solitary. Identity is inseparable from expectation. Life is measured not only by the hours you keep or the tasks you complete, but by the subtle, persistent obligations you uphold. Marriage, alliances, and reputation form an invisible lattice through which life moves steadily, predictably, enduringly. By the end of each day, after labor and prayer, after the subtle adjustments of social interaction, you retire to rest. The lessons of endurance, alignment, and duty carry you into sleep. Tomorrow these bonds will continue to shape you. The rhythm of obligation and expectation never truly ends. It is woven into the very fabric of existence. And in this, you realize that in the medieval world, the self is always shared. The individual is inseparable from family, from household, from community. Identity is a living structure, maintained by careful observation, persistent habit, and the quiet accumulation of duty. You begin to understand that life in the medieval world is never truly yours alone. Even after marriage, even after establishing your household, your actions ripple backward and forward, through time and through bloodlines. Every task you perform, every gesture you make, is weighed against the memory of ancestors and the expectations of descendants. Inheritance is more than property. It is memory. It is expectation, a field, a loom, a tool. These are not simply yours to use. They are entrusted, marked by prior hands, shaped by prior skill, and watched for future continuity. You feel a weight each time you take the plow or lift the hammer. The silent awareness of who came before you and who may come after. You notice it in quiet details. The hearth may have been tended by generations of your family. Each brick, each stone, bears the imprint of prior care. Your touch is not the first. It will not be the last. You place logs in precise sequence because you know this rhythm works. You do not test it. You continue it. The familiar motion, repeated daily, carries a lineage in its pattern. Even when wealth is modest, inheritance carries expectation. A younger sibling may observe silently, learning how to perform the same motions, how to align with social rhythm, how to navigate obligations. Your success, your diligence, your failures, all teach lessons by example. Silence itself is instructive. You understand that what you do today shapes not only your own survival, but that of others in subtle ways. Duty is persistent. It does not ask. It waits. You feel its presence in the early morning frost, in the steady work of the field, in the care of livestock, in the tending of fire. There is no applause for the measured actions you take. Their reward is continuity. Their consequence is only visible when disrupted. If you neglect a task, the impact may be subtle. A field left less fertile, a tool slightly worn, a household rhythm slightly broken. The memory of these small failures can extend across years, altering the trust others place in your family. Even law is interwoven with legacy. Disputes over land, labor, or debts rarely erupt in sudden violence in small villages. Instead, they unfold slowly, through witness, through counsel, through careful observation of patterns. The decisions of ancestors matter. The reputation you maintain ensures that agreements are respected and that obligations are fulfilled. A household that honors its lineage and duties navigates the world with steadier footing. One that neglects its history encounters slow, persistent friction. This weight shapes identity. You begin to notice how it infuses ordinary actions. How you mend a roof, how you milk a cow, how you handle coins. Every detail, observed by neighbors or by younger family members, carries unspoken instruction. Even mistakes are instructive, cautionary tales whispered across hearths, retold during long winters. You internalize this. You recognize that your life is a bridge, supporting what came before and shaping what will follow. Sleep carries the same echo. At night you lie awake for moments, feeling the ache of muscles trained for decades of repetition, remembering the motions of ancestors, aware that your body continues the work of lineage. Even dreams reflect this, repetitions of daily labor, sequences of skill, echoes of moral rhythm. Rest is never fully private. It is continuity, reflection, and preparation. Pressure, though subtle, is relentless. You do not feel it as coercion, but as quiet insistence. It comes from small gestures, the way an elder pauses before offering advice, the way a sibling watches your steps in the barn, the way neighbors recall small failures and successes. You carry an awareness that any lapse, however minor, may alter not only your reputation but the course of household trust. Marriage compounds this pressure. Your spouse is similarly aware of lineage, continuity, and obligation. Together you navigate not only household tasks but the inherited expectations of two families. You may argue softly over a field boundary or the care of livestock, but each discussion is tempered by recognition. Survival depends on harmony. The small household disagreements are managed with foresight, because even minor disruptions can ripple outward in subtle ways. Children, when they arrive, carry forward these expectations. Your guidance shapes their understanding of work, rhythm, and moral duty. They learn not only by instruction but by observation, by seeing your hands move, your posture, your responses to stress, your gestures of care. Silence itself is a form of teaching. Every motion you make is a lesson, whether in the field, the workshop, or the home. Legacy manifests in small rhythms: the tending of fire each evening, the careful arrangement of blankets for warmth, the ordering of tools and grain stores. Each repetition carries instruction. These routines seem mundane in isolation but accumulate over years, creating a slow but unbroken chain. You understand that this is the real inheritance, not the material alone but the practice, the endurance, the alignment with continuity. Even absence carries weight. Illness, aging, or death does not erase expectation. Younger family members note your decline, adjust their own motions, internalize patterns of responsibility. The household continues, gently reshaping roles. You are present in memory as much as in action. Continuity persists, slow and deliberate, regardless of the presence of any individual. Through all this, you come to understand the quiet truth of medieval life. Survival and identity are inseparable. Duty is never fully optional. Inheritance is never fully passive. Every day, every labor, every gesture contributes to a chain that binds past, present, and future. You feel this weight in your body, in your mind, in the stillness of night, and in the rhythm of your waking hours. And yet, there is no sudden terror, no dramatic burden. The pressure is persistent but gentle, shaping behavior slowly, guiding choices quietly. It is almost invisible, like the slow erosion of stone, like the accumulation of frost over the winter fields. You adapt, you continue, you endure, you belong. You are both the product and the custodian of history. The past moves through you, and the future will move through those you touch. Even the smallest action, setting a pot on the fire, arranging the hearth, straightening a blanket, is part of this slow continuum. Identity is a living practice, never separate from duty. Survival depends on it. Continuity demands it. And each day, each hour, each quiet motion affirms it. The medieval world in its persistence teaches endurance, alignment, and subtle responsibility. You live within its rhythms, guided by expectation, shaped by legacy, and defined by continuity. Your life is quiet, measured, and deeply tethered to those who came before you, and to those who will follow. By the time you reach early adulthood, the patterns of labor, rest, marriage, and legacy are familiar. Yet another layer emerges, the quiet, almost invisible structure of social etiquette. This is not a set of grandiose rules written in a book, nor are there formal punishments for minor infractions. Instead, it is an unspoken code, observed and enforced through subtle glances, gentle corrections, and the patient persistence of communal expectation. Etiquette begins at home. You learn which gestures are acceptable and which are not. The way you rise when an elder enters the room, the way you carry bread, a basket, or a tool, the careful placement of shoes and garments. Even the angle at which you bow your head when speaking conveys meaning. Each action, repeated daily, becomes part of your identity. Others read it as a demonstration of reliability and awareness. In the marketplace, these lessons are reinforced. You notice the way merchants nod, pause, or offer goods. You observe the careful balance of politeness and assertiveness necessary to maintain reputation without seeming weak or arrogant. A misstep, even small, may be remembered. The memory of small transgressions shapes interactions subtly but persistently. You understand that social alignment is as crucial to survival as physical endurance. Public gatherings, feasts, and festivals serve as additional arenas for the enforcement of order. You observe carefully where to sit, when to speak, how to hold yourself in the presence of authority or peers. Subtle variations in posture or gesture carry weight. The consequences are quiet but clear: averted gaze, whispered observation, or gentle exclusion. These signals are rarely dramatic but are persistent, shaping behavior over time. Even the smallest social spaces, the village well, a narrow lane, the threshold of a neighbor's cottage, are sites of observation. You walk with awareness, noting not only the path but the potential for unseen eyes. Conversation, when it occurs, is measured. Silence is meaningful. You learn to recognize the invisible web of attention that connects all members of the community. It is delicate, subtle, yet its enforcement is consistent. Children absorb this pattern almost instinctively. They learn to watch adults, imitate gestures, and internalize the rhythm of correct behavior. Etiquette becomes embedded in muscle memory. A hand placed incorrectly on a basket, a curt nod instead of a measured one, or a hurried step in place of a deliberate one may attract subtle correction. You notice it in the tilt of a parent's head, the pause of a sibling, or the gentle guidance of a neighbor. Even humor is circumscribed. Laughter, jest, and teasing are permitted, but only within the bounds of expectation. Excess, crudeness, or irreverence is noted. Social consequences are not immediate but accumulate slowly, shaping reputation and, in turn, influencing the course of alliances, obligations, and daily cooperation. Religion further reinforces etiquette. In church, your movements, posture, and attention are observed by peers and elders alike. Kneeling, standing, folding hands. Each motion has a prescribed rhythm. Deviations are subtle, but noticeable. The quiet alignment of body, mind, and expectation here reinforces the broader social order, linking morality, labor, and social behavior into a single continuous rhythm. You may think of these pressures as subtle, almost invisible, yet they are deeply persistent. They shape decisions large and small: where you place your tools, how you tend animals, how you respond to visitors, how you negotiate minor disputes. All are informed by the knowledge that observation is constant, and that social order is enforced silently but effectively. Even at night, these lessons continue. Household members adjust in the dark, sharing warmth, arranging space, and preparing for sleep according to the norms of age, status, and responsibility. Subtle glances and quiet gestures convey instruction. Silence itself becomes a medium of education and reinforcement. You understand slowly that social order is as physical and embodied as labor, rest, or prayer. The reward for alignment is stability. To follow etiquette is to ensure smoother interactions, harmonious households, and predictable patterns of cooperation. The consequences of deviation are cumulative rather than dramatic. They take the form of minor embarrassment, gentle disapproval, or a reduced willingness to assist. You come to see that small, consistent actions, gestures, words, attention, maintain the structure of your life. Children, apprentices, and younger siblings internalize these lessons. Observation is their teacher. Repetition is their guide. Over time, the subtleties of etiquette become instinctive. You no longer need to think through every motion. Your body, your instincts, your awareness of social rhythm, all carry the knowledge of correct behavior. You participate in a living network of expectation, each action confirming alignment and identity. Even small tasks are shaped by these patterns. Carrying water, tending fires, repairing tools, or arranging household spaces becomes an exercise in both efficiency and decorum. The mind and body work together to ensure compliance with both practical and social expectations. Habit and endurance converge. Over years, the repeated gestures, the correct postures, the subtle attentiveness become integral to identity itself. You realize that medieval life is never chaotic. Even apparent disorder, a child misbehaving, a misplaced item, a minor dispute, is corrected through subtle mechanisms of attention, guidance, and example. Social norms are not enforced through loud command, but through the persistent, gentle pressure of observation and expectation. Survival depends as much on correct alignment with these rules as on work or skill. In public and private, you observe the same principle. Every day you internalize lessons about attention, respect, and careful behavior. Your body, trained by work, prayer, and rest, is also trained by observation, mimicry, and alignment with social norms. Etiquette, invisible but unyielding, forms a layer of endurance that shapes both thought and action. By evening, when the household settles and labor ends, the social rhythm continues. Family members adjust, prepare for rest, and position themselves according to subtle expectations of age, status, and experience. You notice that even in quiet moments, gestures and posture carry meaning. Observation persists. Learning persists. Alignment persists. You understand at last that survival in the medieval world is not only the endurance of body or the performance of labor. It is the quiet alignment of every action with expectation. Work, prayer, rest, marriage, inheritance, and etiquette. Each reinforces the others. Together they form a continuous rhythm, shaping identity, guiding behavior, and sustaining community. Life is slow, measured, and persistent. It is heavy without drama. It is cumulative without flash. The silent enforcement of order is never immediate or spectacular. Instead, it is embodied, habitual, enduring, and precise. And in this gentle but persistent structuring of existence, you find the rhythm that allows life to continue, quietly, predictably, and safely. The morning begins quietly. You rise as light creeps slowly through the small window of your chamber, touching the cold stone floor. You stretch, feeling the residual stiffness in your muscles from yesterday's labor, and then from the night's rest. The day is already set. It unfolds according to patterns you have internalized for years. There is no rush, no sudden demands, only the gentle accumulation of duty and endurance. You dress carefully, wrapping woolen layers over yourself. The air is sharp, carrying frost that is settled overnight. You notice your breath rising in small clouds as you move through the household. Others are already awake. A sibling tends the fire. Another lifts water from the well. Elders move silently across worn stone floors. The rhythms of domestic life are familiar and expected. Breakfast is simple. Bread, perhaps a little cheese or pottage, consumed in measured silence. Conversations are subdued, soft, careful. Even the act of eating is guided by long-standing patterns, gestures, portions, order of service. Every motion carries subtle instruction. You notice the alignment of body and hand, the careful handling of utensils or loaves, the attention to modesty and neatness. Each of these tiny acts reinforces the continuity of your household. Then, labor begins. Fields, workshops, stables, or kitchens. Each task unfolds in a predictable cadence. The work itself is physically demanding, yet the mind moves in parallel with observation and memory. You recall the sequence of actions: plowing, sowing, tending, weaving, baking. Each motion is precise. Fatigue sets in slowly, measured across hours, leaving the body aware but steady. The passage of time is marked by repetition. A hammer rises and falls. A blade slices grain. A wheel turns the loom. Even when your mind drifts, your body continues. Each action reinforces endurance. Each gesture confirms continuity. You are aware, constantly, of the slow accumulation of fatigue and effort. You pause occasionally, not from urgency, but from necessity. Sweat cools on your brow. Muscles tighten. Hands ache from repeated motion. You straighten slowly, noticing the rhythm of your breathing, the steady beat of your heart, the alignment of your posture. Even small rests are measured, leaning against a wall, wiping the brow, adjusting the shoulders. Each pause is intentional, a recognition of endurance. The day passes in a slow loop. Labor, observation, subtle adjustment, repetition. Even the weather influences this rhythm. Cold winds push against your body as you work outdoors. Rain falls softly, soaking woolen garments and darkening wooden beams. Frost lingers along stone edges. You notice these changes slowly, almost imperceptibly, adjusting movement, weight, and focus. Nature itself enforces rhythm. Meals punctuate the day. Bread, pottage, perhaps some smoked fish or cheese. Each meal is a brief interval of reflection and nourishment. Conversation is quiet, gestures precise. You note who eats first, who serves, how bowls are passed. Subtle hierarchy is reinforced in each movement. Every detail is observed, though rarely remarked upon. Even children are brought into this rhythm. Tasks are simple at first, carrying small items, tending a flock of chickens, sweeping floors. Yet each action is a lesson in endurance, precision, and social expectation. You notice the subtle transmission of knowledge, repetition, observation, gentle correction. Identity is formed not through grand instruction, but through continuous, deliberate engagement. As the afternoon stretches, fatigue accumulates. Your hands grow sore, your back stiffens, your eyes strain in the dim light. Yet the work continues. There is no pause for dramatics, no sudden release. Time is slow, measured, persistent. You learn to move through these hours with awareness of both body and task, noticing small adjustments that preserve energy and maintain rhythm. Time passes subtly through repeated gestures. You lift, bend, slice, mend, turn, and repeat. Each motion marks an hour, yet hours are not counted with numbers. They are felt in endurance, in the tightening of muscles, in the cooling of sweat, in the gentle ache of fatigue. Even the smallest motions carry weight, subtly reinforcing the connection between effort, identity, and survival. Evening draws near, signaled by the lowering of the sun, the softening of shadows across walls and fields, and the familiar tolling of the distant bell. You feel the day's work in your body, in posture, in the slow, steady rhythm of breath. The household adjusts for night. Fires are stoked, animals fed, tools cleaned and set in place. Each motion is deliberate, habitual, precise. Continuity is preserved through repetition. There is a quiet beauty in this persistence. Life is not chaotic. It is structured. It moves slowly, in loops and sequences that accumulate over days and seasons. You feel the endurance of generations in your hands, your back, your stance. You understand that survival is woven into the rhythm of labor, the observation of others, and the meticulous attention to detail. And so the day ends as it began, gradually. The body carries fatigue, but also the satisfaction of alignment with expectation. Work has been performed, obligations have been met, rhythm has been preserved. You notice the subtle marks of continuity, worn floors, straightened tools, well-tended fires. Even without words, these speak of persistence, endurance, and care. Sleep will follow. It will be shaped by this day's exertions, guided by the moral schedule, aligned with inherited expectations, and softened by habit. You will rise again tomorrow, body carrying memory, mind carrying routine, identity shaped by the slow passing of time. Each day repeats the last, yet each is slightly different. Continuity and subtle variation coexist, forming the quiet rhythm of existence. And this way the medieval world teaches endurance, alignment, and the deep patience of life. There is no urgency, no dramatics, no spectacle, only the slow passage of time, measured by work, observation, and subtle adjustment. Through repetition and attention, you move through life, carrying not only your own survival, but the persistent weight of expectation, identity, and continuity. Here the slow passing of time is not empty. It shapes muscles, posture, habit, and awareness. It teaches patience and attentiveness. It embeds endurance into every gesture. And through this, life continues, quietly but fully, in harmony with both natural rhythm and social expectation. The sun dips slowly toward the horizon, painting the sky in muted tones of amber and gray. Shadows stretch across the village, elongating the familiar shapes of cottages, walls, and fences. You feel the subtle tug of fatigue in your limbs, the ache of a day measured by repetition, and the quiet satisfaction of tasks completed with care. Evening has arrived, and with it comes another layer of rhythm, chores, reflection, and the gentle settling of body and mind. You move through the household, performing small tasks that signal the transition from labor to rest. The animals must be fed and secured. Water drawn earlier must be set aside for evening cooking. The hearth is tended carefully, embers stirred, logs added, smoke guided gently through the chimney. Each motion is deliberate. Fatigue is present, but it is accommodated, not fought. You notice how the body adapts, learning to carry itself efficiently even when tired. Children assist quietly, imitating your movements with unspoken instruction. You guide them with subtle gestures rather than overt commands, demonstrating the proper way to carry water, sweep floors, or arrange firewood. Each small correction is gentle, a reinforcement of continuity and endurance. The household moves as a living rhythm, each individual contributing to the slow unfolding of evening. Meal preparation follows. The air is rich with the subtle aromas of bread baking, pottage simmering, or smoked fish warming. You work slowly, conscious of the care required to maintain sustenance. Even the simplest meal requires attention, stirring just enough, adding firewood gradually, removing dishes carefully. Each act carries the weight of both practicality and tradition. You have learned that attention to detail, even when tired, ensures comfort, efficiency, and continuity. As the meal is shared, conversation is subdued. Words are deliberate, gestures restrained. The silence is not emptiness, it is reflection. You notice the small signs of fatigue in others, a child rubbing eyes, an elder stretching shoulders, a sibling sighing quietly. The day's labor manifests subtly in posture, movement, and expression. Awareness of this teaches patience, empathy, and careful observation. After the meal, remaining chores are completed slowly and methodically. Tools are cleaned and stored, floors swept, animals checked once more, fires managed for night. Even these small tasks carry weight. They reinforce habit, provide structure, and mark the boundary between day and night. Fatigue continues to accumulate, but it is tempered by the satisfaction of careful work, by the knowledge that the household is secure and ready for rest. As the light wanes, you pause to observe. The village settles gradually. Windows close softly. Smoke curls gently from chimneys. Animals rest in their stalls, and the distant hum of quiet labor fades into stillness. The body feels heavy. Muscles ache. Breath slows. The mind drifts between awareness and reflection. You notice the subtle shifts in posture, the small adjustments required to maintain comfort, and the rhythmic nature of fatigue itself. Reflection follows naturally from the body's weariness. You consider the tasks completed, the lessons observed, the subtle successes and minor failures of the day, even small achievements, a fire kept steady, a tool repaired, a chore performed without oversight, carry quiet significance. These are marks of endurance, of skill, and of alignment with expectation. Reflection is not abstract. It is bodily, habitual, embedded in the rhythm of action. Outside, the sky darkens further. Stars emerge slowly, scattered faintly above the village. The air is sharp, carrying chill that seeps into woolen garments and through layers of activity. You notice the body's adjustments, hunching slightly to preserve warmth, rubbing hands together, shifting weight. Fatigue and cold combine subtly, teaching awareness of limitations, endurance, and adaptation. Survival is measured in small responses to persistent challenges. The household begins to prepare for sleep. Bedding is arranged, blankets layered carefully, warmth preserved where possible. Children are guided into positions of rest, taught the subtle practice of stillness, awareness, and quiet breathing. Adults settle into habitual positions, muscles gradually releasing tension built up over the day. Even the act of lying down becomes a rehearsal of endurance, adjusting blankets, supporting limbs, regulating breath. In these quiet moments, awareness of identity deepens. Work, obligation, inheritance, and social rhythm converge. Fatigue is more than physical. It is mental and moral. You are aware of expectations. From family, from neighbors, from tradition. Each completed task, each measured motion, confirms alignment with these expectations. Identity shaped by labor, rest, and social conduct persists through subtle repetition and enduring habit. The mind drifts slowly. Thoughts of past labor, of conversations, of lessons observed, repeat in gentle loops. Patterns of the day are internalized, movements, gestures, careful attention, the moral and social rhythms that have governed life since childhood. Even the smallest details carry weight. A foot placed carefully on cold stone, a hand adjusted to keep warm, a subtle movement of the head to acknowledge a sibling or elder. Continuity is maintained not by force but by habituation. Night deepens. The household rests, but observation persists in soft forms. Glances, positions, quiet breathing, all maintain the rhythm. Even sleep is structured by the day's accumulation of labor and the moral schedule. Fatigue becomes a teacher, showing the body its limits, teaching endurance, promoting subtle awareness of alignment with routine. You understand that persistence, repetition, and careful attention ensure survival. Through it all there is calm. The day ends quietly without drama or sudden disruption. Fatigue is present, but it is tempered by the satisfaction of care, alignment, and completion. The slow passing of time has left marks in the body, in habit, and in awareness. You are aware, in the stillness of evening, of your place within a rhythm that stretches across hours, seasons, and generations. And so you drift toward sleep, carrying the weight of the day, the lessons of labor, the subtle instructions of observation, and the quiet persistence of expectation. Your body and mind relax in tandem, prepared to rise again at dawn, ready to repeat the cycle, to continue the slow rhythm of life, identity, and endurance. The quiet weight of fatigue is not a burden. It is a marker of survival, alignment, and the continuity of existence. Night settles slowly over the village. Darkness does not arrive suddenly, but creeps in from the edges, washing the landscape in muted shadows. You notice how the last rays of the sun linger on stone and timber, fading gradually into gray. The air is colder now, carrying the faint scent of smoke from distant hearths and the earthiness of frost-kissed soil. In this stillness, you feel the gentle pull of consciousness toward rest, yet there remains a period of quiet vigil, an interval between labor and sleep, reflection and surrender. You move carefully through the cottage. The tasks of evening are complete. Fires are tended, animals secure, tools stored, bedding arranged. The household is aligned with rhythm and expectation. The work of the day has left its mark on body and mind. Muscles ache softly, the spine and shoulders carrying the residue of bending, lifting, and repetition. Hands bear the subtle wear of labor, knuckles slightly reddened, palms calloused, yet capable. Each sensation is a reminder of endurance, a testament to diligence, a whisper of continuity. Some remain awake longer, engaged in quiet tasks, mending a garment, arranging a shelf, sweeping gently along the stone floor. Movements are slow, measured, deliberate. Fatigue is present, but it is tempered by habit and attentiveness. These small, deliberate actions serve as transition, a bridge between wakefulness and the surrender of sleep. There is no hurry, there is no urgency. Every motion reinforces the rhythm of life, the structure of expectation, and the alignment of the household. You may sit for a time, listening to the subtle sounds of the night, the occasional creak of timber, the soft shuffle of a foot on stone, the faint sigh of wind through cracks in walls. Each sound is familiar, measured, predictable. You notice how the mind responds to quiet repetition, how attention drifts naturally without forcing itself. Consciousness moves slowly, like the gentle flow of a river, guided by habit and environment. Observation continues even in these quiet hours. You notice the subtle ways others move, a child shifting beneath blankets, an elder stretching slowly, a sibling adjusting a tool or garment. Each gesture carries meaning, a reinforcement of identity, duty, and alignment with household expectations. Even small motions are instructive, teaching patience, awareness, and endurance without words. You recognize the silent language of habit, learned over years, transmitted through repetition and attention. Prayer or contemplation may occupy part of this vigil. The act is slow and deliberate. Hands are folded or extended, eyes lowered, posture measured. The mind settles into a rhythm, breath aligned with motion, reflection intertwined with routine. There is no rush, no elevated drama, only the gentle folding of thought and action into a continuous sequence. Even when thought drifts, the body maintains alignment. Endurance persists, subtle and patient. Outside, the village rests under the muted glow of stars. The cold night air carries distant sounds. An owl in the forest, a branch swaying under frost, a dog stirring softly. You notice these sounds, but they do not alarm. They are familiar. They are markers of time, rhythm, and environment. Awareness persists quietly. Vigil is maintained through observation, alignment, and presence, rather than urgency or alarm. The body signals its readiness for sleep gradually. Muscles relax, shoulders sink, eyelids grow heavy, breathing slows. You notice the gentle interplay between fatigue and consciousness. Even in this transition, alignment is essential. Adjusting blankets for warmth, positioning limbs to relieve tension, shifting posture to maintain comfort. The physical awareness is subtle, yet persistent, a dialogue between endurance and release. Consciousness drifts in measured intervals. Thoughts repeat in loops, moments of the day, lessons learned, gestures observed, subtle achievements, and minor lapses. Memory and reflection interlace with physical sensations. You sense the slow accumulation of fatigue across hours and tasks, the gentle settling of body into the habits of endurance. The rhythm of labor, expectation, and continuity carries into the mind, preparing it for the quiet surrender of sleep. The household gradually becomes a single organism of motion and stillness. Children curl beneath blankets, elders adjust their posture. Siblings lie in measured positions. Adults stretch or shift minimally. Fires glow low in hearths, casting soft amber light over stone walls. Shadows move gently across floor and beam. Silence is pervasive but not absolute. Subtle sounds punctuate the stillness. Vigil is collective yet individual, quiet yet attentive. You notice the subtle education of this nighttime environment. Observation continues, teaching patience, awareness, and alignment, even as the body prepares to release tension. Sleep is not abrupt, but emerges from a rhythm of habit, repetition, and attentive presence. Fatigue is both teacher and companion, guiding the body toward rest, shaping consciousness, reinforcing endurance, and embedding identity. Time becomes fluid in this vigil. Moments stretch and contract imperceptibly. There is no abrupt marker of transition. Awareness drifts between wakefulness and sleep. The mind experiences soft loops of memory, reflection, and perception. You are aware of the body's slow processes, circulation, breathing, subtle muscular tension releasing. Consciousness passes gently, as if guided by an unseen hand, aligning mind, body, and habit with the expectations of the day and the rhythms of life. In these quiet hours you understand the slow, persistent order of medieval life. Labor, inheritance, marriage, social etiquette, and daily routine converge into a rhythm that carries through to night. Even as consciousness fades, awareness remains subtle and instructive. The body and mind are trained to maintain alignment, to observe, to endure. Fatigue becomes an instrument, shaping thought and habit, preparing you for the continuation of this slow rhythm tomorrow. Eventually, the vigil dissolves. Eyes close, limbs relax fully, breath deepens. The household rests, aligned, predictable, persistent. Fatigue, reflection, and habit guide the gentle passing of consciousness. You surrender slowly to sleep, carrying the rhythm of labor, etiquette, duty, and observation into the realm of dreams. Tomorrow, as always, the cycle will resume, measured, slow, and enduring. The night does not end abruptly. There is no dramatic closure. There is only quiet alignment, the fading warmth of fires, the soft breathing of sleepers, the subtle marks of endurance and habit embedded in the body and mind. Life continues in rhythm, continuity assured by repetition, observation, and patient presence. Even in sleep, the lessons of the day persist, quietly reinforcing identity, endurance, and alignment with expectation. The gentle passing of consciousness becomes an extension of life's rhythm itself. You float between memory and anticipation, between awareness and release. Sleep is a continuation of endurance, a soft rehearsal of responsibility, and a slow affirmation of alignment with the world around you. Even here, in the stillness of night, the medieval structure of life remains, measured, persistent, deliberate, and quietly instructive. In this calm you recognize the essence of survival, repetition, observation, and patient alignment with expectation. Consciousness yields gradually, carrying the subtle lessons of the day into rest. The body and mind remain intertwined with the rhythm of labor, social order, inheritance, and identity. Night, like day, is a continuation of enduring patterns, marked by subtle reflection, measured activity, and the slow, gentle surrender of awareness. As the night deepens, the village rests in quiet alignment with centuries of habit, labor, and expectation. Fires glow low on the hearths, casting gentle flickering light across stone walls. Outside, the cold air brushes softly against rooftops and frozen earth. You feel the same weight of stillness in your body that the villagers have known for generations. The slow fatigue of labor, the subtle ache of persistence, the soft awareness of responsibility fulfilled. You may imagine the modern world beyond these cottages, streets full of noise, lights that never dim, tasks arriving by command rather than rhythm, and yet there is a simplicity here. In the deliberate pace of labor, the quiet enforcement of etiquette, and the persistence of continuity. You notice the contrast, not as a judgment, but as a gentle observation. In the medieval world, time is measured by repetition, endurance, and alignment with expectation, rather than by urgency or spectacle. The warmth of the fire, the low murmur of breath, and the subtle movements of household members form a calm chorus. Each motion, no matter how small, is an affirmation of survival and identity. You sense that these rhythms, slow and measured, allow life to continue in a manner both predictable and enduring. There is a satisfaction in this. The body knows its limits, the mind knows its patterns, and the household knows its responsibilities. Alignment is quiet but pervasive, shaping thought and action alike. You might notice how fatigue itself has a rhythm. It accumulates across hours of labor, across repeated gestures, and across the moral and social obligations that structure each day. It is persistent but instructive, teaching patience, endurance, and attention. Even the stillness of night is a continuation of this lesson. Sleep is not an escape but a measured progression, a reinforcement of habit, and a quiet rehearsal of identity. In reflection you realize how subtly medieval life integrates survival, labor, social expectation, and identity. The small gestures, the repeated motions, the careful attention to detail, all are components of a slow, deliberate rhythm. You notice how continuity is preserved through repetition, observation, and alignment with both physical and moral expectations. The passing of days, the seasons, and the cycle of life itself is embedded in these movements. Even modern comfort cannot erase the patterns embedded in habit and endurance. The warmth of a bed, the glow of artificial light, and the ease of food and water may alter perception, but the underlying lessons of patience, alignment, and quiet observation remain. You can feel, in a subtle way, how habit and reflection shape consciousness, whether in the medieval world or in the present. As your attention drifts, you may imagine the soft hush of the village at dawn. Long before the sun has risen, you hear the faint sound of animals stirring, the distant creak of doors opening, and the gentle movement of early labor. Even without witnessing it, you sense the rhythm, preparation, repetition, observation, and endurance. You understand that the cycle is unbroken, and that continuity is preserved not by force, but by subtle alignment, patient attention, and habitual care. There is calm in the realization that life, in its slow progression, is neither chaotic nor random. The patterns of labor, inheritance, social expectation, and personal responsibility are interwoven, shaping both body and mind. You sense the quiet power of habit, the gentle persistence of continuity, and the subtle enforcement of alignment with communal and familial expectation. These forces move steadily, unobserved by many, yet profoundly influential. You may notice small, almost imperceptible details, the way a log is placed in the hearth, the angle of a hand adjusting a blanket, the measured motion of a child imitating a parent. Each detail reflects attention, endurance, and alignment with continuity. Over years, these small gestures accumulate, embedding knowledge and identity into both body and household. Even when unspoken, these patterns teach, reinforce, and preserve. Fatigue has become familiar now, gentle in its persistence. You feel the body soften, muscles releasing slowly, breath aligning with rhythm, posture settling into comfort. You sense the mind yielding, thought drifting in loops of reflection and memory. The quiet persistence of endurance has prepared you for this moment. The day's labor, the household's rhythm, and the alignment of action with expectation converge in a gentle surrender of awareness. You may observe the contrast with modern distraction. Noise, urgency, and spectacle often dominate contemporary perception. Yet here, in the rhythm of medieval life, time is measured by endurance, attention, and subtle expectation. There is no rush, no need to impress, no sudden danger. Survival is woven into repetition and care, identity into habit, and continuity into quiet alignment. Each day is both similar and slightly different, a pattern that teaches without dramatics. In this calm, the weight of reflection is gentle. You consider the persistence of life, the household that rises each day to perform tasks, the child learning by observation, the elder guiding subtly, the neighbor noting patterns of conduct. Each contributes to a rhythm that preserves identity, duty, and continuity. Observation, repetition, and alignment reinforce endurance, subtly shaping both body and mind. As you drift closer to sleep, the household rests. Fires glow low, smoke rises softly through chimneys, animals breathe quietly, and the night air holds a chill that seeps gradually into every corner. The rhythms of life continue in miniature, the soft adjustment of blankets, the subtle tilt of heads in comfort, the measured release of tension in muscles. Even in stillness, continuity persists, carrying lessons, identity, and expectation gently forward. You notice that the gentle rhythm of medieval life is instructive. The body, mind, and household are aligned through repetition, observation, and subtle correction. The day's labor and night's vigil flow seamlessly into the next cycle. There is no abrupt closure, no dramatic resolution. Instead, the quiet patterns of habit, endurance, and attentiveness continue. This is survival, continuity, and identity in their simplest, calmest forms. Finally, you sense the merging of reflection, fatigue, and rest. Thought slow, consciousness drifts, and the rhythm of the day dissolves into the rhythm of sleep. You carry forward lessons of patience, endurance, attention, and alignment. Identity, labor, inheritance, etiquette, and social expectation all converge softly in the mind and body. Sleep is gentle, deliberate, and continuous, part of the same pattern that shapes each day. There is calm in knowing that this rhythm persists beyond any individual. The household, the village, the family, and the line of ancestors all continue. Continuity is assured through subtlety, patience, and persistent attention. You are both participant and observer, body and mind attuned to the quiet patterns of survival and alignment. This is life in its slowest, most deliberate form. Even as modern comforts may draw the mind outward, the lessons of medieval endurance remain. Attention to small detail, alignment with expectation, and the persistence of habit across days and years. Reflection and fatigue, labor and rest, social order and inheritance, all coalesce into a rhythm that shapes life without drama, prepares the body without urgency, and calms the mind without spectacle. And so, you rest. The night carries you gently, the body releasing tension, the mind drifting between memory and anticipation. the household aligned and steady. The world outside may be quiet, still and cold, yet the interior world, the rhythm of survival, endurance, and habit persists softly, continuously, assuredly. You are part of a long chain of life, expectation, and continuity. Each motion, each breath, each reflection is a quiet affirmation of alignment. You drift into sleep fully, carrying the lessons of the day, the endurance of labor, the alignment of household and social rhythm, and the subtle persistence of identity. Night, like day, is measured, deliberate, and continuous. Survival, reflection, habit, and continuity merge in the gentle passing of consciousness. Here in this calm and measured world, you rest,